Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Worth the Wait MMA. I'm your host, Aries, and I'm here to break down an upcoming pay per view card going down this Saturday. UFC 315 going down. We have a great main event in Belal Muhammad versus Della Madalena. And the co-main event, we have Shevchenko versus Manin Farad. So we have a good card. I think there are some really good scraps on this card. But yeah, man, here to break it down for you guys. Kind of go through these fights, each single fight. I think there will be more fights added onto this card. There was a fight that just dropped out, or a fighter dropped out, so a fight just got canceled off this card. I don't see the UFC going with a 11 fight card pay per view, so I think they will add maybe one or two more fights. But just to recap yesterday's card, we had the UFC Des Moines card going down yesterday. For the picks, I went 6-6. Very ugly card, just a mess, just all over the place. But for the bets, I ended up with a profit of 2.5 units ending the night. I had 1 unit on Montel Jackson going and winning by decision, which got me plus 125. And then the big bet that hit for me, that got me over that hump and got me my plus units for that night was I had a D Rod winning by finish TKO KO plus 425. I had that line and I had 1 unit on that finish for D Rod. He got it in the third round. Um, he almost had Ponzinibbio out of there in the first. I was kind of scared that when Ponzinibbio survived that first round and that onslaught, that it was going to be a decision win. It was a close fight, but D Rob started putting together some combinations and he got Ponzinibbio out of there. But I just had a feeling it was just a matter of time. If D Rod can just add on to those combinations, I think Ponzinibbio's chin is just too suspect for me. And Ponzinibbio is just too hittable. I just had no faith in that chin holding up for 15 minutes if D Rod was able to find that chin, which he did. So I think it was a great line, plus 425, and I had just had to capitalize on that bet, and that one put me over for the night. So, a positive night for the bets, but for the picks, I was just so upset. Just it was just a mess. So I hope to kind of bounce back on this pay per view card. There are some very very underrated underdogs for this card, but I just yeah, we'll see, man. Let's just check this out. Let's get into UFC 315 going down this Saturday. If you guys are new here, hopefully I do enough to earn your sub on the YouTube channel. Hopefully you hit that sub button, hit that like button, and comment down your picks for me as well. We can chop it up in the comment section, talk about some fights. But if you're listening to this on the Spotify channel, hopefully you hit that follow button, follow the podcast, rate it 5 stars. That'll give me a lot more noticed, and hopefully, you just help me out in that aspect of the podcast. But let's just jump into this card real quick. We have UFC 315 going down in Montreal, Canada. So, but yeah, we have a Canadian coming in, starting this card off. I do believe there is another card, or there was another fight that was added to this card. So that could be the opener, but we're just going to go off what ESPN has for us as far as the card layout for right now. Yeah, we have Brad Katona versus Bezigat Amakan. I don't know. Brad Katona is a very well-rounded fighter, though. He has some really nice output, high output, I would say. He's very active, man. And when he starts mixing those wrestling and the takedowns with his striking, he's kind of a like he's not gonna wow you with his style, but it's the pace and it's the volume of output and just very consistent in his pressure. But with his opponent here, so Amakan, I hope I'm not even saying that right, um, but he had his UFC debut. Um, well, I feel like it was last year maybe against Umar Nurmagomedov. He stepped in on short notice. Yeah, a year ago he had his UFC debut. but he came in on short notice against Umar, and he stunned Umar in the first round, I believe. Knocked Umar down. He it looks like he was about to pull off the huge upset and knocking out Umar Nurmagomedov. Um, but Umar, used his wrestling, just went down to his P's and Q's on his wrestling and kind of just wrestled away uh Begzat. So yeah, he fell victim to just being taken down, and the wrestling defense just wasn't holding up. But the striking, the kicks from this guy, the kicks are amazing. The real fast twitched kicks, the striking's fast. He's definitely gonna have the speed advantage in this fight versus Brad Katona. But Brad Katona hasn't been finished yet in his UFC career. This is his second stint, say his second run in the UFC, I believe. Um, but he has been rocked. I believe he's been rocked maybe a few times. But he's shown his durability, but I don't think he's seen a striker like Begzat here. And I'm kind of high on the kicks that I've seen coming from Begzat. So yeah, my prediction is going to go with Begzat to win, and I have him by TKO. I'm not. I'm not. I could see a decision here win, but I'm just going to go with the finish here for the Kazakhstan fighter. Next fight, we have Mark Andre Barrios versus Bruno Silva. And if you guys are one of these people who are still backing Bruno Silva this day, I give major props to you. Bruno Silva has fallen off a lot. Um, I don't know, man. Like the kickboxing a few years ago, like he looked like a promising striker. I know he's coming into this fight off a four-fight losing streak. He has fought some really good competition in that four-fight losing streak, but it's the way he's looked in those performances. Like he just looks um, doesn't look like he wants it. The hunger's not there for Silva. It doesn't look like he looks uninterested. And when his opponents are, the hammer, Bruno Silva is a terrible nail. So I'm not interested. I don't care how nice the odds are for a Bruno Silva. I am not interested in picking or betting for a Bruno Silva to win his fight. It's just the way he's looked, and I just having a competitive fight versus a Chris Weidman, it doesn't look good to me at all. Um, and the way I see Andre Barrios winning this fight is to be Andre Barrios. I mean, he pushes forward, he kind of gets you up against the cage, some dirty boxing here and there, but he's a um, real gritty, just tank almost, and just coming forward, putting the pressure on you, getting you against the cage, mixing some dirty boxing in the clinch, and just kind of does his work from there and kind of goes from there with his attack. So I think Andre Barrios is just going to get Bruno Silva against the cage. And I don't think Bruno Silva is going to do much to get out of those positions. Um, Again, the grit and the toughness from Andre Barrios. I think I'm taking that, and I'm a minus 150. I may just put some money on Mark Andre Barrios because I am so low on a Bruno Silva here. Again, Bruno Silva just hasn't been good in my eyes for the last 2 3 years. Um, I don't know, man. He may just lose this fight and get cut from the UFC. I don't know, but I'm done trying to. I'm done trying to put in my head and convince myself that Bruno Silva is going to show up and show out for me. And nah, I'm done. So give me the Canadian here. Give me Mark Andre Barrios to win by decision. I think he's gonna be a gritty, hard fought, hard nosed Mark Andre Barrios performance here for 15 minutes, and Bruno Silva ain't gonna do a damn thing about it. So next fight we have Navajo Sterling versus Ivan Erslan. Listen, guys. So Sterling's coming out of the City Kickboxing gym, with Style Bender and all those guys. Very talented gym. Um, and you kind of see it in his kickboxing. Like he's a very composed, patient kickboxer, and he does have some, mix in some wrestling here and there. But you know that he is going to use his big frame, his big body, his long limbs. He's going to be the bigger fighter here by a good margin. He's going to have the looks like a 6-inch reach advantage here, but just he's huge for this for 205, and I just see him with the calculated and precise kickboxer that he is. I kind of see him staying at bay and picking Urslan apart. Now Urslan is a he had his UFC debut last fight against Ion Kutalaba. I do see, I saw Urslan has good hands, good boxing. I don't know if I still he's been knocked out once in his career, but I don't know if I still have questions about his chin. I know he survived the onslaught of Kutalaba, but I don't know, man. I still kind of have some question marks about his chin if he can take that shot. But I think he's just at a stylistic disadvantage here. Like, yeah, he could possibly close distance and find the chin of Sterling, but it's just a stylistic matchup against that boxing versus the kickboxing. Having that distant management and Sterling just kind of staying at bay, landing his kicks. I think his kicks are going to be what kind of sets up a lot of his striking here. I think Sterling has some good kicks. I think he can start by just chopping down the tree of uh, Yvonne Urslan here with damaging the leg with kicks of Urslan. I think Sterling's just going to be too big. I think he's going to use his reach and his advantage. I think he's going to be very smart with his distant management here. But yeah, anything could happen here. Of course, this the UFC, MMA, anything could happen in the octagon. But what I see on the tape, is, I think Navajo Sterling is. I think he's going to be a good prospect here in the UFC 205 division, and I think he has some good technical kickboxing. And give me Sterling, brother. Give me Sterling by TKO KO. Next fight, let's go up here. Let's go to Modestas Bukauskas versus Ian Kutalaba. Now we have a fight between two of the most inconsistent, unreliable 205ers. Um, now, which one are you going to pick? Which of the better evils are you going to pick? Um, this one's tough for me. This one is going to be the toughest pick, I think, for any person who's breaking down this card. I think this is going to be the fight that people just have different opinions on. So I hope you follow your heart and what you see watching tape and watching these fights between these fighters. Um, but Modestas Bukauskas, I think he is the more technical, cleaner kickboxer striker here. I think um, yeah, the punches are a bit cleaner, and I think he has a bit better takedown defense as well. But he looks huge, man. He looks huge compared to. I think he's going to look a good size difference between him and Kutalaba here. Kutalaba, though, I say Kutalaba is so inconsistent because I feel like he's showing and he's using his IQ more in his later performances or his latest performances. He's starting to wrestle. He's starting to use his takedowns to get these fights to the ground and um, showing there's more to his game than just being a wild man and striking and trading on the feet with strikes. He's showing his takedown offense, his wrestling offense, and submissions here and there. So we are seeing the evolution and the growing fighter and his skill with Ian Kutalaba. Man, this is tough. This is really tough. Um, this could change when I do the final picks and best bets episode later in the week. But for right now, I have Ian Cutelaba winning this fight. It's not something I'm confident in. Again, this could change for me, but yeah, this could get really interesting on the feet, especially for Cutelaba, who could get just outworked and just technically not as better as Modestas Bukauskas. And with the disadvantage in reach, Cutelaba could just get sloppy entering in that range of Bukauskas and get caught. But it's the takedowns and the wrestling of Cutelaba that I think that can just make Bukauskas um just keep him guessing, throughout this fight. So that could open up some things for Ian Cutelaba here. Um, yeah, man. Bukauskas hasn't like wowed me. Like I know he's coming into this fight with some momentum, but if you were to look at his last five performances and who he's fighting, I'm not like wowed by the people that he's beating. Pedro, Zach Pounga, he lost and got knocked out by Victor Petrino. In his last two fights, Marcin Prachnio, come on now, and then Sakira, who is coming into this fight and just not a good striker and terrible striking defense. So you look at that last five from Modestas Bukauskas, and I'm just like, if he gets that, if they were to bump him up into skill sets, and instead of these lower tier fighters, he doesn't look good. So I think I'm gonna go with Ian Cutelaba here. I'm seeing more positive strides from Cutelaba in his style, and he's a huge person to take a risk on. I get it, but for right now, I'm going Ian Cutelaba to win by TKO in KO. Next fight, we have one of my favorite fights and one of my favorite fighters on this card. Um, we have Jessica Andrade versus my girl Jasmine Jasudavicius. Now, I say that with Jasmine Jasudavicius because I like her attitude. She really loves this shit, and I get that feeling from her that she really loves to fight. She enjoys her time training and fighting. Um, but man, she's come a long way, and she's looking better and better with each performance, I believe. She is a dog. Jasmine Jasudavicius is a dog, and I'm kind of done trying to fade Jasmine Jasudavicius here in her fights. I always try to see like I don't think Jasmine is like that, but she keeps proving me wrong when I do pick against her in her last five fights. There were some spots where I did pick against her. But she's proven me wrong, man. She's proven me wrong each and every single time. And she has a style that a lot of women just cannot keep up with. She has a very, very aggressive push forward, grit out against the cage and get you down and just overwhelm you with a lot of volume and pressure on the ground. And she's just everywhere. She's everywhere. And in a 15-minute fight, I'm taking Jasmine Jazz Vicious over a lot of people in the women's flyweight division. I think Jasmine gets this win. And I think her next fight will set her up for a title contender fight. Because she's right there. I do believe she is right there uh pretty soon to be fighting for the belt. But again, I just don't see a lot of people or a lot of girls beating Jasmine with that pace. Um, but Jessica Andrade is an OG. She's an OG in the sport. She's a tank. She will throw from her side. She will throw from her hip. She throws wide. She has some big power. Um, but I kind of question where she's at in her career and just what's going on outside of the octagon and her life with Jessica Andrade. Um, I don't know how much I put into the outside stuff for Jessica Andrade. affecting what's going on inside the camps and the training camps and the octagon performances. There was a time where she was like needing money because she was like fighting divorce or something, and she just like needed money or whatever. I don't know the whole details, so I'm just kind of going off what I've heard. But it could play with you, you know. That type of stuff could kind of wear on you, and it may kind of affect your performances, you know. And this is a tough sport to kind of go through fights and go through camps when your outside life is just kind of kicking your ass. So, and I'm not even, but when I break down the fights and the fighters and what they do good, I just the stylistic matchup here. Jasmine just being the bigger fighter here, but I just think Jessica Andrade just has a hard time um, get going, getting going, and trying to avoid Jasmine Jazzy Vicious as much as possible to land her own big shots. Just because Jasmine Jazzy Vicious just crowds the space so well. Um, I think the long limb body of Jasmine Jazzy Vicious compared to the short body of Jessica Andrade, I think she's going to uh, climb her body. If Jasmine can't get this fight to the ground, I think she just can like climb on the back of Andrade and just kind of throw up some rear naked chokes and stuff like that. Get on the back and just work her jujitsu game. And I think Jasmine Devicious is going to be just too much and just overwhelming for Jessica Andrade. Um, so give me Jasmine Devicious by submission. Next fight we have Mike Malott versus Charles Radke. Charles Buffalo. Listen, I get that Mike Malott is who he is, right? I am not completely sold on Mike Malott, especially his performance against Neil Magny. Now you can say that Neil Magny is he's an OG of the sport. He is a vet, a veteran, and this and that about Neil Magny, but this stage of Neil Magny defeating Mike Malott the way he did, and Mike Malott kind of just died out and threw in the towel and just kind of I don't know gave up, but yeah, just fading that hard and kind of letting the fight just slip through his hands in the third round and to Neil Magny. It still doesn't sit well with me. And I know he bounced back against Trevin Giles and looked put on a technical performance against Trevin Giles. But I feel like Mike Malott is trying to just conserve himself so he doesn't have that uh so he doesn't die out again and that cardio doesn't affect him late in the round or late in the fight like it did against Neil Magny. So I wasn't too impressed with that performance against Trevin Giles. Again, maybe that's just very strategic of him to kind of just play it safe with the cardio. But Mike Mulata, yeah, he's a good, well-rounded fighter. Good technical striker, good kickboxer. Can mix in the takedowns and wrestling. But nothing is wowing me about Mike Mulata. I think he's just a real straightforward, well-rounded fighter. Um, but Charles Radke, I am a fan of Charles Radke. He has some big power in his hands. He's training with some really good training partners, and I think he's going to be good everywhere, bro. I think he's going to be good everywhere in this fight. Getting those rounds in with Belal Muhammad and that wrestling, the takedowns, and I think he's going to be good in this fight. I think he's going to have the takedown defense to stay on the feet. I think he has the power in his hands uh, to make Mike Malott uh, there's it's something to worry about. You're gonna have respect for my power. And I think Mike Malott will be a bit more timid entering in and striking with Charles Radke because of that power that Radke has. And once Mike Malott feels that power, I think he's going to try to go to the wrestling. But I like what Charles Radke is doing and who he's training with. I think that wrestling takedown defense is going to be okay. So when we get back to the feet, what we look like, I think Charles Radke is a live dog here, and maybe this line is just hometown biased here for the Canadian and Mike Malott, but give me Charles Radke to pull off an upset in Canada. Give me Charles Radke to win by decision. So yeah, man, I like Charles Buffalo, man. I'm a big fan of Charles Radke. Now it says right here that BSD was supposed to fight Joel Alvarez. Joel Alvarez had to drop out of the fight due to a hand injury. So Joel Alvarez will not be fighting. Um Mateus Robeski, I think that's his name. He's put out a tweet saying he wants to step in for Joel Alvarez against BSD. That'd be a fun fight because Robeski is just a dog as well. That could be an exciting fight. So hopefully the UFC pulls the trigger on that. But this fight's not going down, which is sad because I think Joel Alvarez was about to put it on BSD. To be honest with you, so we'll move on from that. So yeah, with the episode coming later in the week with the final bets and final picks episode. I'm sure the whole card will be announced and we should get some added fights here. So I'll go over the new added fights on that episode later in the week. But yeah, we got Alexa Grasso making her return after losing the belt to Valentina Shevchenko, and she's going up against Natalia Silva. Man, if you guys know me, you guys know that I'm a Alexa Grasso stan. I love Grasso. Um, I've been a fan of hers since her fight with Marcos. Yeah, Marcos. Um, but I think this is going to be a tough fight, man. This is a tough fight for Grasso here, stylistically. Um, so Grasso, we all know that she's known for her really technical boxing. Her hands are really nice. Um, but she's really evolved in her ground game and her jujitsu, training with Diego Lopez, getting her ground game right. She doesn't show it off too much, but when she does, she's hold her own, submitting like people like Joe Joanne Calderwood or Joanne Wood, and submitting Valentina Shevchenko to win the belt. Um, but this is the thing that gets me about this is it's the output. Now, when Grasso is in range and lets her hands go, the output is okay. But with someone who moves as much as Silva, I think Grosso's gonna have a lot of trouble trying to track down Silva. I feel like in this fight, Natalia Silva is just she is so mobile and she is so active with her kicks. I can see her just sticking and moving for 15 minutes and just making it hard for Grasso to kind of cut off the cage and cut her off to land her own shots and throw punches and landing her big punches with her boxing. I think that Silva is a tricky stylistic matchup for Grasso, just for the mobility of Silva. But when Silva wants to sit down and you know entertain that trading with Grasso before she starts moving again, those are the opportunities that Grasso needs to um, take advantage of. But Grasso, I wish Grasso was a bit more aggressive. She's very patient, but maybe we do see a more aggressive Alexa Grasso coming out wanting to take the head off of Silva, and if not that, just be more aggressive and pushing forward and getting Silva against the cage to hopefully get a takedown and just slow down the mobility of Silva. It should be the ideal game plan for Grasso here, but I just haven't seen it yet. Like Grasso, she just kind of moves at her own pace, and that pace is okay. But when you're fighting someone who's just just sideways and someone who just uses her feet so well in Silva. It's going to be a hard matchup for Grasso here. Um, Give me Natalia Silva to win by decision here. Um, I hope for a good fight between these two, but I can see just Silva avoiding the big shots and kind of just staying away from Grasso as much as possible and avoiding the big boxing striking from Grasso. So I can see like a 29-28 unanimous decision win for Silva here. But yeah, I think Grasso could have like a big rally in the third, trying to she's down 2 rounds, and I can see Grasso trying her best to just kind of uh throw some haymakers out there, hopefully to land something, or shoot for takedowns and get the takedown late in the third and taking a round. I can see that happening in this fight. But yeah, give me Silva by decision. Next up, we have the King of Rio. We have Jose Aldo versus Ayman Zahabi or Ayman Zahabi. This is kind of like another stylistic matchup that I like for the OG here. I like this matchup for Aldo. Again, Aldo's going to be the more technical striker. I know he doesn't use his kicks as much as he used to, which I wish he did because I think he's has one of the best kicks that I've seen in the UFC. Um, but he doesn't throw those as much, and I think he's fallen in love with his hands and his boxing, which respect. His hands still look good. The striking still looks good from Jose Aldo. Zahabi though, I think Zahabi is he's a good fighter. You know, he fraud checked Basharat, and he's coming off beating a washed Pedro Munoz. Um, Finished a Richie Lang. So he has some really solid wins in his last 5 fights. He has some solid wins. He has some solid wins in those fights for Zahabi. But stylistically, I think Aldo is just going to be cleaner on the feet, um, just technically more sound. And I hope that Aldo does work the body a little bit more in this fight with Zahabi. Um, I think the only way to beat Aldo is to attempt the takedowns and get Aldo against the cage. And I think we saw that against Aldo when he fought Batista. We saw Batista kind of struggling on the feet, and Batista was able to get that decision win off the control time that he had with the grappling and holding Aldo against the cage. And so I think that's the way that Zabit, not Zabit. Yeah, the Z and the A is kind of throwing me off to say Zabit. That's why. But I think Zahabi is going to have to make Aldo fight against the cage, and um, yeah. So I think Jose Aldo, for when he has that space and that distance, I think he's going to be the better striker. He's going to land the more effective shots here on Zahabi, and Zahabi just has to get this fight against the cage and just slow down the striking output of Jose Aldo. I don't think that's going to be possible. So I'm going to go with the King of Rio to win in Canada um, against the Canadian. So give me Aldo by decision. So we move on to the co-main event of UFC 315. We have the champ Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt. Sorry, I tried to do something that didn't work out. We have Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt versus Mana Farad. Shevchenko just won her belt back against Alexa Grasso at UFC Noche and the Las Vegas Sphere. And we saw that Shevchenko is going using her wrestling a bit more in her performances and her fights. I think she has like something like 18 takedowns or something like that in her last like 6 fights or something like that. So we're seeing, I mean, Shevchenko was known for her striking, her Muay Thai, her kickboxing, very technical kickboxer and Muay Thai fighter. Now she's mixing in her wrestling later in her career now. It is paying off, and it paid off against Alexa Grasso. I think that was a good stylistic matchup to use that wrestling. to slow down the boxing of Grasso, but Valentino just put on a wrestling clinic against a striker. So yeah. So with that, with Shevchenko showing off her wrestling a bit more or a lot more in her performances now, I don't think that will translate to this fight with Mana Farad. I won't say I'm the biggest fan of Farad. I've kind of faded her a few times in her last five. But she has proven me wrong every single time. And I think before she fought who'd she fight? Blanchfield? Um yeah, Aaron Blanchfield in her last fight. I was like, oh, her takedown defense isn't that good, whatever. But yeah, to stuff the takedowns of Aaron Blanchfield and uh she beat Aaron Blanchfield pretty easily in that fight with Mana Farad. I I'm I'm now on the train and I get it. I get it. I get what people are saying with Manafrot. And with Shevchenko at 37 years old, a lot of miles on the body, her using her wrestling a lot more in her fights now. Manafrot has really good takedown defense. She has like something like a 90% takedown defense. I think it's gonna be tough for Shevchenko to get this fight to the ground and be effective with her wrestling in this fight. So when this fight is on the feet and the striking, what are we looking at here? I thought Farad was going to be a bit bigger. I'm kind of interested to see them, at the weigh-ins and the face-offs to see how the size difference between these guys or between these ladies. I thought Farad was going to have a bigger reach advantage here, but she has a 1 inch disadvantage in this fight. Um, Farad is she has that side stance, the karate side stance a little bit, very free flowed striking, but she has some really good combinations with her hands and some really good side kicks. So it's going to be interesting on the feet. And I think what was helping Shevchenko in her performances was her wrestling, opening up the the striking. I don't think that's going to be the case here, And I saw Shevchenko at a plus money, and I was like, "Oh, I'm taking Shevchenko right off the bat." And then I had to watch the tape on these 2, and I was like, I think Manafort is going to be a bit harder to put up a fight. I think she's gonna put up a good fight against the champ. And I got my Manafort taking the belt, um, 48-47 decision. So I I do think this fight goes all rounds. I think Manafort just edges out the decision here, uh, because it's gonna be a striking fight, and I think Manafort's just gonna land the more effective shots here. But yeah, give me Manafort and New in the co-main at UFC 315. And for the main event for the main event for this card, we have Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Madalena. 1 second, guys. Let me just get a talking too damn much. Um, I really, really tried to find my way to the challenger here. I really tried to find my because I'm a huge fan of Jack Della, and I really tried my best to sway myself to Jack Della on his side. The man has boxing. This man probably has some of the best boxing in the UFC. If you guys want to like make a top 10 list of best boxers, he has to be on that list easily. But Bilal is just showing me some good performances. Um, the hands are coming along. The striking is coming along. Because he's so heavy. He's so dominant with his wrestling. The striking is coming along, and maybe it won't be at the same level as the wrestling because he is so dominant with the wrestling. But it's enough to you know m- uh just trick the opponents and having the opponents just think of something else other than the takedown offense of Belal with his striking. So, but 25 minutes with Jack Della, can Jack land something that can just put Belal away? Jack Dilla doesn't really put 100%. He probably puts like 60% into his shots. He doesn't look like he throws strong, but man, he when he puts his combos together, it's more precision over power. But when he lands, like there's some really significant showings from his opponents when he lands. Like either they go out or they get stunned, or But man, the champ is so good, man. I just became a fan of Bilal not so long ago. I'm becoming more of a fan with his performances as he performs and defends his belt. Just for the sake of like the 155 division, because if Jack Della wins, Islam moves up to fight Jack Della. If Bilal wins, then we get Ilya versus Islam at International Fight Week. So I think. And I think that's why we don't have a main event yet for International Fight Week in June next month, because I think we are waiting to see, or Islam is waiting to see what happens with this fight. I do think Islam is training. Um, Ilya is in camp. And I think based on what happens in this fight, that will determine a lot of things to fall in place. So I hope Jack Della wins because I would like to see Islam move up and not cut so much weight. And I think to see Islam get a second belt would be cool. But to fight Jack Della at 170, ugh, that's tough for 155 are coming up. I don't care how good you are, like Islam is, but that's a tough one. But I'm gonna take the champ here. I'm taking the champ just for his wrestling, and I haven't seen anyone really. Jack Della doesn't have the defense, the takedown defense to slow down a Bilal Muhammad. Jack Della may stuff some takedowns, but I don't think it's going to be enough to where Bilal's like stuck in the mud and decides not to shoot on you, and he's forced to stand up with you. I believe in Bilal Muhammad's wrestling, his pressure, and I think he kind of gets uh, a unanimous decision win here on the judges' scorecard. I think Bilal Muhammad wins by decision. Hopefully, it doesn't go all 5 rounds of Bilal wrestling Jack Della, but I could definitely see it happening. I think that may be the more likely outcome here. Because if Jack Della wins, I see him knocking out Bilal and finishing Bilal by TKO. Um, but yeah, give me the champ to retain his belt. Give me Bilal Muhammad by 49-46 decision win here. Okay. So let's see here. Let's do this off. So those are my picks for UFC 315 going down this Saturday. Be on the lookout for the final picks and best bets episode. It'll be dropping Thursday night, so probably watch it Friday morning. But yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on my picks. Let me know who you have winning. There will be more fights added to this card, so I'll break down those fights on Thursday on the Thursday episode, and we'll get those out to you guys. But thank you guys again. If you guys want to follow the social accounts, the Twitter and the Instagram, down in the description section, definitely check those out. I'm pretty active on both, so I'll be posting my picks every week and my bets every week on those platforms. So yeah, thank you guys again. Hopefully, I do enough to earn your sub with this breakdown on the YouTube channel. We're almost to 17,000 subscribers. But also, if you're watching this or listening to this on Spotify, hopefully you hit that follow button and you rate the podcast. Give it a 5 stars, and that'll help me out as well. Get more traction on the podcast. But thank you guys again. And I'll see you guys on the next one.